Again, we just came out of the study talking about marriage. We're dealing with our book, Marriage Counseling for Christians. It's a powerful tool I really feel that every Christian should have. And you can go right on our website at rfc-la.faithweb.com and put your order in for this book, Marriage Counseling for Christians. And I think it'll be a real blessing to your life as we're going through these studies. Just for a $10 donation to our ministry, we'll be able to get this out to you immediately. Okay, so we left off talking about our Father in His wisdom decided that it's not good for you to be alone, for a man to be alone. And I'm certain women out there saying it's not good for me to be alone either, and you're true. It's right, because we balance one another all. Now, the frustration that so many men and women have is because we are so different. We are very different in our makeup, and we're going to talk about some of those things. Women are very conversationalists, and men aren't as they don't talk as much. They're not that kind of an individual. They're not that kind of creature. And you need to know the difference, because if you know the difference, then you can better understand how to get along with your wife. I remember reading this one book, a powerful tool. Maybe we'll talk about it later, that you can go and get. And I was reading, and I was in another state, and I remember picking up the phone, calling my wife, and I said, hey, baby, I found out you're not crazy. And then I found out also that I was not crazy either for thinking the way I was thinking, because when I read this book, it began to really unfold to me how the mind of a woman is. Now, actually, the book was focusing on women giving to their husbands and being a blessing to their husband. But as I read the book, what stepped out to me was how different we are and how much I've been missing the point, understanding who my wife is and being able to be a blessing to her. Because God does not want, so you can be married and still be alone, because you don't understand that other individual, nor do you work at trying to understand an individual. We come into the marriage looking for someone that's going to make us be better than what we are, and what you need to do is come into the marriage bringing something to the table. You bring who you are to the table, and you should be the best you can become before you ever enter into this institution called marriage. Now, it's amazing, though, as we look at this, that what sticks out to me when I look at this particular study starting in Genesis is that the very first institution that God created was the institution of marriage. He didn't create the church first. A lot of people, you focus all your life on the church and what the church is doing and all those kind of things. Those are important things, are important issues. But what you got to understand is that the marriage institution came a long time before the institution of the church was even birthed. And this institution of marriage is a powerful thing because it shows the relationship between Christ and His church. And so we're going to get into that a little bit later as we study. But you need to understand that God, when creating mankind in His image and His likeness, God developed within His creation a need and desire for communication, for companionship, and for socialization. All these things were put in the mindset of that creature. When God developed him and created him, He put also a need or desire for communication, companionship, and socialization. Now, you may sit there and say, well, I don't need that, but I promise you that you do, because one of the ways that when you're in prison, the way they punish you is by putting you in solitary confinement. They get you away from the populace. They get you away from other people, because we need to socialize. We need to have communication. We need companionship. There's a necessity that you're able to communicate. Now I don't regard the exact amount, but they were saying how many words a day a woman need to be able to say and how many words a man need to be able to say. And of course the woman's words are far exceeding that which a man needs to speak in a day's time. But that woman has to vent. She has to vent. So does a man. He has to vent. He has to communicate. Now, we communicate sometimes differently than the other, but yet we communicate. It's vitally important. Communication can be done with the eyes. Communication can be done with a touch. And when we get into the sexual part of our dealing, we'll find out that men and women deal completely different, even when we're communicating about sex. A man is he's enthralled at what he sees, and a woman is more enthralled by what she hears. And these things are things that we're going to learn as we go through this teaching. But I want to keep in mind that the thing that you need to know when you come into a marriage situation is that God wants you to have an individual that you can communicate with, that you can sit down and you can pour your heart out to. It's important that you be able to pour your heart out and that heart not be destroyed by the individual you're pouring the heart out to. There's a lot of people, the moment you pour your heart out to them, they utilize your communication as a weapon against you later on when there's an argument in the marriage, and you cannot go to a place that you don't have an argument. I remember my bishop, he had been pastoring then for many years, and a young man got up in the service and he said, you know, me and my wife, we've been married for 5 years and we've never had an argument. And Bishop jumped up immediately and told him, said, sit down. Sit down. He said, you know, me and Margaret, and that was his wife's name, been married for years, and we just had an argument this morning. So you sit down. So, because I know you're lying. You have to understand that there are going to be times of disagreement with two different individuals. But somehow, we're going to have to be able to communicate with that individual and yet not our hearts be broken. Then the next thing is companionship. That God brought it into where you can have a relationship or companionship with somebody, be able to walk with them, talk with them, communicate with them, have fellowship with them, and you need that. Then he wants you to socialize. And we have to realize, and especially those of us in the church, that there need to be something outside of the church you have interest in, except just going to church. It's important. Church is vitally important. You know, I'm a man of God, so I believe in church, but there need to be some things out on the outside that you socialize with. There's some things that you identify with, that you can do together, whatever that thing is, whatever your choice is. But you need something besides church, because you are a tripart being. I'm going to talk about that in another book I wrote called I Am a Tripartite. I am a tripartite. I am a spirit living in a body, and I possess a soul. But I do have a soul. I have something that causes me to want to communicate and have a relationship with others. It brings me into contact with others. My spirit brings me in contact with God. But my soulish quality, it wants to communicate with those around me, those I can see, those who I can socialize with, that I can have something I identify with. Every marriage should have something that you can identify with, something that you can have a relationship with outside of the church, something that you, and so even when you're dating, when you're going, quote, dates, when you're going on these dates, you need to find out what interest does this person have. And you're going to find out maybe that you guys don't have anything other than the physical, because the man, first thing the man looks at is the physical. And boy, that gets old after a while when you realize that you are more than flesh. You need more than fleshly desires. You have spiritual desires, and you have social or soulish desires. So you need to realize there's someone you need to be able to have something outside of God, maybe not outside of God, but outside of the church with. And that's important. Now, well, I am excited again that we're going through this particular study, because I really feel it's going to help us as you and I get down to the nitty-gritty of understanding one another in marriage. And again, I'm studying from my book called Marriage Counseling for Christians by Dr. Willie Bolden. It's important that you get hold of this book. You can go on my website. That's rfc-la.faithweb.com. And you can order from that book right there. Just put it in, just what you want, Marriage Counseling for Christians. Just put that in there. And then you can make your financial donation of $10 through PayPal. And we'll get that book out as quickly as we get them printed to you. I know it's going to be a blessing to your life. Now, until our next study, you stay close to God and close to one another, and love one another like you've never loved one another before.